your other host, Leslie, and we're bringing you yet another banger. Bow, bow, bow.
Bow, 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 bow. Welcome back to the Horror Bangers with Sam and Leslie. Oh, yeah. That's about it.
That's all we got for you.
That's it. All right. And we will see you next week. Oh, wait. We have to review the movie.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. The movie.
What movie was it?
It was Daughters of Darkness.
Wow.
From 1971. Directed by Harry Kumel. Written by Pierre, Drouot, Harry Kumel, Jean Ferry, Joseph Amiel, and Manfred R. Kohler.
Yay!
While passing through a vacation resort, a newlywed couple encounters a mysterious, strikingly beautiful countess and her aide.
Yep, they do.
Whoa, she's striking.
Was
Ow!
she like fucking laying down some like thunder or something?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. She walks into a room, you hear the whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to start off with this episode by just saying something from the end of last episode, which I did ask for a movie that we watched during the 31 days to then repeat under the new Deadlights review format. And that's exactly what we got.
Yep.
This was one of the 31 days of horror movies films that we watched, and you fell asleep during.
I did. Yeah. As the movie started, I was like, oh, wait. I remember these few scenes, and then I remember the ending. Because I think that's when I came about.
Yeah.
But then I think I fell back asleep because there was nothing for me to review since I fell asleep through a lot of it.
You got the first couple scenes.
You know, I must just remind our listeners that there were some days that we were watching these movies at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Watching the movies and then having to record
Yes.
the reviews right after. So we weren't getting out of there until like 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah. I was getting out of your house at that time.
Very
you
true.
could just go to sleep.
That's true.
I had to ride my bicycle all the way home.
The sun was coming up.
Yeah, that was, I mean, honestly, that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. The marathon like that is very fun. It's tiring, but at the end you feel very accomplished.
You know, it could have been maybe easier with things, more things for us to do. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
But all we did was just weed and alcohol.
That's true. We didn't really, because it was a marathon, so we couldn't tire ourselves out just one day.
Yeah, no one was fucking doing anything else.
Nope.
Wink, wink.
Nope, nothing to keep us going.
I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, agreed. I'm pretty impressed with us too. That's what kicked this whole thing off in general. So
Yeah.
What a stroll down memory lane.
Wow. Honestly, yes, it was.
And now we get to go back and see one of the movies that we watched then and watch it with new eyes, a new perspective, and that's why we're watching Daughters of Darkness again.
Yeah.
And we have returned to a classic monster. We have a vampire story. Wow. Striking.
Striking.
Vampire story, but we're in the 70s, so it's way sexier.
Oh, I saw that this movie is called a horror erotic.
I can absolutely see that.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it felt purposely sensual, purposely erotic and sexual. And that was part of it. That was definitely a huge part of this film. And I think they achieved a sensual, sexual, erotic horror movie. That's what it was.
I am just pretty impressed that they made our countess so masculine as well, even though she was so feminine. But we can get into that.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the Daughters of Darkness with the can. Like I said, we're in the 70s. So we are shooting on film. And one thing that I've always really liked about this movie is you can tell that this person knows how to shoot a movie. They know how to light a movie. They know how to compose a shot. I think that no matter what you think about the story of this film, it's extremely pretty. I feel like you can pretty much pull any frame from this movie and it almost looks like a painting. Like how it's composed, the vibrant colors, the intentional shadows that are being cast, and the softness of it too. Everything just feels like it's painted in the frame.
You're both so perfect, so good looking, so sweet.
We're focusing a lot on beauty in this film. It's all about just like, how beautiful are you? And yeah.
It's like your values almost completely determined on your looks and how you can use your looks to get what you want.
Yeah. Because like that's the reason how the fucking keeper of the hotel,
the concierge, manager, pretty much the only hotel worker there.
Exactly. He remembered her from 20 years ago or some shit like that. And it's because who will forget somebody who's that fucking gorgeous? Like, she's supposed to be like impeccable.
Yes.
It was such a long time ago, and Madame looks exactly like a lady who must have changed a great deal since. The Countess Elizabeth Bathory.
But that's my name. You must be joking.
I was a young bellboy then, but I do remember, even after so many years.
I think that is also another very strong part that we should talk about in The Can, is how they not only shoot the Countess, but also how they dress her.
Yeah. Oh my God, the costume.
Amazing. Incredible. Like, she is wearing the most dramatic pieces, first of all, which goes to kind of that vampire, almost like peacocking, where, yeah, she's striking. Like, you can't not look at her because of just what she's wearing. She's wearing furs. She's wearing feathers. She's wearing leather.
Sequins.
All things that are almost animalistic. She is probably closer to an animal than anyone else because she's a vampire. She's a creature of the night. We can't help but see that correlation that they're making between her and a predator who's on the hunt. And that is what her purpose is through the whole movie. So they're informing us about her character through how they're dressing her, which is great. And the pieces are incredible.
They're incredible. They're dressing the main girl, Valerie. They're dressing her in pure white. Pure white. Nothing else. Because she's supposed to just kind of be our girl that's just kind of taking life as is, which is terrible because then her husband starts beating her out of nowhere. It was so sad.
Very naive.
Yeah.
Very, at some points, I felt willfully ignorant, you know, where maybe she did think something was off, but she chose to ignore it.
Stefan, I'm frightened.
Frightened? Of what?
Of you. You were pleased. It gave you pleasure. You actually enjoyed seeing that dead girl's body.
Because she really was able to be another beautiful character, but almost like a doll.
Yeah.
She was easily manipulated and just played with.
She did get entranced by the Countess. So, like, there is a supernatural kind of aspect there that, like, she was able to control her. But with her husband, it was just kind of like, I think she's only here because I think she doesn't know what else or where else to go.
What's next in life?
Yeah.
Marriage.
She just got married.
They just got married.
We're getting to know each other.
The movie starts off pretty much with them going on their honeymoon and learning about each other. And learning the truth about who each other are, which...
Yes.
Who the fuck did you just marry? Well, I think maybe we should get into the meat then.
Yeah, let's get into the
Because
meat.
We're definitely talking about relationships in this movie, and specifically toxic relationships. They did just get married, so they know very little about each other. And as the movie goes on, we can definitely see how Stefan is a narcissist. He is a manipulator, and he wants to control Valerie.
Valerie will do as I tell her.
What if I ask her to stay?
That is a matter for me to decide, madam.
Deceit. That is his way to control Valerie. And then we have the countess and her aide, Ilona, show up at the hotel. And they are also a picture of a toxic relationship.
Let me go away.
I never would and you never could. After all these years, you still don't understand, do you, Ilona?
You don't need me anymore.
How but you need me? Without me, you'd have no life.
You call this a life?
And then the rest of the movie is Elizabeth, the countess, seeing her new prize, seeing her new conquest, which is bringing Valerie over to her side. How does she manipulate Valerie versus how does Stefan manipulate Valerie? And it's kind of like it's a tug of war match that they have going on through this movie between Elizabeth and Stefan over Valerie's attention. But the thing is that in the end, Valerie is still in a toxic relationship. Whether she goes with Stefan,
awful.
or whether she stays with Stefan or goes with a countess, it comes with her being controlled no matter what. So it's just like this big picture of this poor soul that is just so naive that she's just going to get pulled
Left and right. Yeah.
through life.
It sucks because you can tell throughout the movie that both these people are terrible, and you're hoping that Valerie doesn't end up with either of them. You're just like what story are we gonna tell right now? One of misogyny, like is she gonna go with Stefan?
That's why he dreams of making out of you what every man dreams of making out of every woman. A slave, a thing, an object for pleasure.
Or one of fucking what's a depiction of a gay relationship and it being so manipulative and terrible and frightening.
I'm not afraid of you.
Oh, yes, little Deadlights, you are afraid of me. You're terrified.
It's hard to blame her because she is the victim in all of this. But at a certain point in your life, you do kind of have to look around and realize the people that you're associating with and make that decision of, is this the best for me? I don't think she was at that place in her life.
No.
All. She was willing to marry this guy that she barely
She
knew.
just met.
I think it was just based off sex. They just had good sex. We started the movie with them having sex. I think that's what was keeping her. And then throughout the movie, when you saw her start to pull away, they had sex again. And that held her there with Stefan.
I need to be alone with Stefan. Alone.
The only reason that Valerie was being pulled towards the countess side was when she started showing her affection. It's just sad, though, for Valerie, because you're wanting her so bad to get on that train, and she's literally walking through the door, and then the countess, boom, right there, takes her luggage out of her hand, takes her by the arm. You're not going anywhere.
Very loosely, this movie could also be like talking about how when you are in love with someone, you're gonna do whatever you can to try to appease. And there are some people that just don't know better. They don't have this, the tools, the experience to kind of differentiate between love and someone who's, just using these circumstances to manipulate you. Because that's not love, But this person, it seems like they were, like you said earlier, naive and just don't know better. And eventually, spoiler alert, they fucking die.
And even in that last moment, we do see Valerie, but she has Elizabeth's voice.
I can't tell you how much I despise this kind of place. Especially now, when there's no one.
You know, she was abused. She's going to go on thinking that that's okay. So the abuse breeds more abuse in this case.
But do we believe that that is the Countess in Valerie? Or was Valerie was just... It sounded like the Countess just because we're supposed to understand that the abuse is circulating.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it doesn't, quite honestly, it doesn't even matter if that's the Countess
Boy.
or not, because either way, this being is going to continue to do
what she
was
doing.
doing. So it doesn't really matter. It's just going to continue.
Fuck.
Not a pretty bleak outlook.
Yeah, it is.
For sure.
But like that is what fucking trauma does.
It's not a lie.
It's a cyclical fucking disease that we just keep ignoring as a nation, you know? And we keep saying, you reap what you sow. It's the season of reaping what you sow.
And here we are.
Damn.
Here we are.
Daughters of Darkness. This is where we're at.
This is it.
This is it for us.
Let's get to the cook.
Let's cook it up.
Because what I do like about this movie too is this tie that we just talked about between abusive, toxic relationship, you know, using sex and violence to control people, with a very classic monster, which is a vampire. And the vampire, I always love as a mode to tell these kinds of stories, because in their nature, vampires, the lore, they use sexuality, they use sensuality for blood, for inherent violence that they need to survive. They need sex and violence to exist. So I think that pairing this kind of picture of toxic relationships with a supernatural being, it feels like a very logical tie that they could put a vampire in this kind of story.
Silly tales about ghouls chased away by garlic, and vampires shrinking from crosses, Satan's ritual under a full moon.
They're just so sexy.
They're so sexy.
Because, like, also, of all the places, I understand that there's an artery right here, right to your heart. But still, like, it's such a sensual place to kill someone. Because they don't just, like, fucking slash their throat and just, like, drink it. No. They, like, nibble.
They enjoy
with their teeth.
It's like the blood is giving them life, but the chase is part of it too. You know, it's about the hunt and about pulling people in and knowing that you could just take them
like
out.
a cat, essentially.
Yeah, really calculated, really planning every moment and having control over people like that. So that directly ties with the themes of this movie. And that's one of the reasons I've always liked this movie, is because it feels effective inherently with just the choice of the monster.
I'm just an outmoded character, nothing more. You know, the beautiful stranger, slightly sad, slightly mysterious.
This was a very gay movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned it while we were watching it, where you're like, I really hope Stefan doesn't like come in at the end to quote unquote save Valerie from this lesbian relationship that the Countess was trying to have with her. And they didn't do that. They did not do that.
God.
They killed Stefan. Thank God. Just threw
Thank
him off
God.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, threw him off the balcony.
Off the balcony. Whatever. And then they did kill Elizabeth too. So our main villains of the whole movie were vanquished. even though they weren't really demonizing gayness, it did feel like they were villainizing it a little bit still, because our bad guy is a lesbian and using that to manipulate Valerie.
But also, it's like Stefan was the pinnacle of like misogyny.
Yeah. So we got both sides.
So we get both sides, and I think we're just trying to like, what I gathered is that like that cyclical kind of trauma will outlive any relationship, any person, any interconnections with anyone. I think it furthers that statement by the end scene with Valerie going up to a couple. She's not just focusing on a gender, she's literally focusing on destroying couples. And it seems very vindictive of just being like, fuck romance, fuck relationships. I'm gonna fuck both of you and see where it goes from there.
And just have fun. Get my fill.
Yeah, get my fill and see how it fucking destroys you.
You seem to take quite an interest in us.
And you in me?
The last thing that I wanted to say before we get to the thrill, in the cook, because this kind of goes towards the scripts, there's a detective subplot somewhere in here.
forgot that.
I'm like, okay, they introduced this detective while Stefan and Valerie are like doing a day trip in Brussels or whatever.
I totally forgot about this motherfucker.
Yeah, he starts off by like creepily whispering into Stefan's ear about the details of this crime scene.
Young girls, all of them. And this one, so pretty. She must be lying there a few days, mutilated like the others.
Like they were having a very sexual moment together.
Yeah.
And then he shows up at the hotel and is like, I'm a detective looking into the serial killings that are going on. Ooh, I wonder who that could be.
Oh, yeah, because like the paper was like mentioned several times.
Yeah, and so like he shows up. They show him leering around the hotel. They show him following them a couple times. But he does nothing. He ends up literally doing nothing. He sees them bury a body, and then Elizabeth just runs him over with a car. Boom. End of story. It was like they were trying to build stakes of like, ooh, are they going to get caught? But they didn't really even care about that at all. It was like false stakes.
I feel like at some point they realized like, oh, this is either going to add too much time and money to the scheduling, and we need to drop this, or we don't see anything like the storyline furthering anymore with this character.
Maybe there was more scenes of him like investigating things throughout the way, but maybe they just ended up cutting more of it for time, but it ended up feeling so thin that it was nothing. Like I was like, when they killed him, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yay. He wasn't even doing anything.
It wasn't even like we didn't even see him actually get killed. We just saw him getting pushed to the side. Yeah.
He could still be laying there.
My legs. Legends say that he is still rolling.
Daughters of Darkness 2. Detective Bite Guy.
And that's why I totally forgot about him, because we never brought him back.
Yeah.
He cut away from the sexy
for sure.
elements of this movie.
He looked like a rat. Sorry, sir. You're probably dead, honestly. But I'm sorry. You did kind of look, what's his name from Harry Potter? Definitely took away from the sexy.
Yeah.
Definitely took away
Absolutely, because we're like, all your scenes could be filled with boobs. We could have absolutely removed all his scenes, filled that time with more sexy.
I would have definitely liked to see more boobs than that guy's face.
Absolutely.
Every time we saw the back of that guy's head watching the hotel, instead we saw boobs, I'd be all right.
I would be so happy. It would make the film more erotic.
let's get to the thrill. Let's
Yeah.
get to the thrill. I mean, we're starting to talk about it already. Vampires are the main monsters of this movie. And our vampire in this movie, Countess Elizabeth Bathory, who is a real person.
I was telling Valerie about the history of our family, the Bathory.
Listen to that. It's so...
So revolting and yet so interesting. The Countess Elizabeth Bathory, my ancestor. Elizabeth is Elizabeth in Hungarian, but she was best known as the Scarlet Countess.
She bled 300 virgins to death.
Some say 800.
She believed human blood was the elixir of youth.
Now they've kind of taken that character and turned her into a supernatural being, which is a vampire, which kind of goes along with that feasting on blood kind of thing. And I honestly, I think we should take this time to talk about her performance as this vampire because, man, I think
She sells it.
she sells it. This, how she even says her lines are so, soft, but, drew you in so hard, you wanted to listen to every single word that she said. She was hypnotizing.
You must be nice to me. Soon you'll love me as I love you now.
For a performance in the 70s, in comparison, as you can just tell through the other actors, did not compare.
No.
Her performance was standalone, and it was closer to the kind of performances that we would get in today's time. It was seductive. It was luring. It was just very effortless. She didn't look like she was struggling saying her lines. Valerie did. Valerie was so fucking painful to watch.
You do love me, Valerie, don't you? Yes?
The strength needed to come from the actor playing Elizabeth, and it did. And going towards that, she played that seduction so well, so effortlessly, but then you also felt there was a lot of danger underneath that. She felt dangerous. You kind of got the sense the amount that she felt like she was in control was scary, because you're what do you know that I don't know? That her almost having a one up on everybody in the room was her power, and that's what really made her scary. And yeah, she did a fantastic job.
She kidnapped young girls and kept them chained to give blood. Blood for her to bathe in and drink.
No.
Yes, she tore out their nipples with silver pincers.
And she bit them everywhere.
No.
And then she pushed white-hot pokers into their faces.
Stop it!
Blood, beautiful red blood.
Stop it!
Over her hands and her arms and her legs.
Stop it.
They were edging each other. It was this crazy scene of her slowly consuming him with her arms and her body as he's being consumed by the fantasy of violence.
And that was we're supposed to assume that that's all supernatural, right? She is getting into his mind and stuff. Oh,
I don't know. I think that's kind of a cool part about it, because yes, how supernatural is this allure that she has? Is it just purely how she acts, or is there something else magical?
What's got into you, Stefan? What have you done to him?
The other part that I really wanted to talk about in the thrill, which is I think who our second villain is, which is Stefan. He is abuser, manipulator, narcissist, and is obsessed with violence to a certain extent. We see him completely enthralled when they come across a crime scene, and he wants to see that dead body. He is horny for it.
yeah, he is.
And he wants to read about all the murders that are going on. He's really interested in that. And then this scene that we're talking about, where he's almost orgasming to the talk of torture. But the difference is that he's actually only a man. And I think that in the end, when we have Elizabeth and Stefan competing against each other for the affection of Valerie, Elizabeth wins out because she's actually a monster. And Stefan can say he's interested in violence and blood and all this kind of stuff, but once he's actually faced with it, once he kills Ilona,
oh yeah, he breaks down.
He breaks down. He becomes a little boy. And it's Elizabeth and Valerie who are the ones who are cleaning up his mess.
Mm-hmm.
What's great about having his character in here is that this is a picture of a real life monster. It's the abuser. It's the manipulator that we've seen in a lot of toxic relationships.
It's the trauma that follows. It also reminds me of this conversation right now that we're having in the internet, in the socials, is this concept of asking women, would you rather be alone with a bear or with a man? Or not alone, but rather in that form of just like, would you rather a man or a bear?
Literally the situation that we're seeing.
And women are saying the bear, because at least the bear, when it attacks, it has a purpose. It has an intention of just it, being scared or whatnot, like feeling in danger. Therefore, that's why it retaliates. But a man, you don't know their actual intentions of them hurting you. They will just hurt you just because. So, like, Valerie chose the bear because she at least has given consent to the monster.
There's at least reason behind that,
quote unquote, gave consent, and is willing to go about it because the monster is asking her nicely and it's not retaliating. And the man did for no reason.
I am a man and she is mine.
Was she yours last night? Would she be yours if you let go of her now?
Ugh,
terrible.
Scary.
Yeah, scary.
That's why I put him in the thrill category. He is a scary part of this movie. There's really no heroes in this movie. There's no one that swoops in and saves Valerie at the end, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they didn't stick to that form of someone needing to save her. Sometimes people are lost and they just stay lost.
Especially when you go through that kind of trauma. Manipulation is a strong tactic. It is a very easy way to get people to do what you want to do. It is terrible, but it is such an effective fucking thing that, like, when you're witnessing somebody go through it, you don't know what to do yourself. Even as a third party member, you're just like, fuck, what do you do? Because, like, you run into the issues if you approach the person who's being victimized, or that is the victim getting abused. Are they going to retaliate? Are they going to believe you? Like, you don't know if you're going to, like, make the situation worse. So,
and it's also like who am I to, like, weigh in on your relationship? You know, it's a double-edged sword, and a very sharp double-edged sword that never gets easier to deal with.
No.
And also, the one last thing I wanted to say about Stefan and his manipulation is he's using the idea of his mother approving of Valerie against her. Valerie has a fixation on wanting to be accepted by Stefan's mother, because supposedly that's where they're headed.
No, I don't understand why you make such a fuss about my mother's opinion. You see, the fact is she already hates you without even knowing you exist. All right. You win. I go. I leave tomorrow. Or the day after.
Stefan identifies that, sees how important that is, and then uses that against her because he's like, I will call her. Of course, I'll call her in a day or maybe the day after that. He keeps using that as a thing to prolong their stay and in the end control Valerie. And then we realize at a certain point, mother ain't mother.
Stefan? Yes, I'm fine, thank you. I hope you didn't do any foolish things in Switzerland.
Well, it's rather difficult to explain.
You did do something foolish.
Well, you see, Valerie and I were married 3 days ago in Switzerland.
What a nice surprise. I was wrong after all. What you did wasn't foolish, Stefan. It was merely unrealistic.
The moment that we as the audience find out that Mother is not who Stefan sold to Valerie or to us as the audience, to me, that's the moment where we realize Stefan is a lot scarier than we maybe realized. Because no matter what the situation is with quote unquote Mother, the fact is that he felt that he had to hide whatever that situation is and just sold it as, I'm just going to see my mother. I'm just going to see my mother. So again, it's this real life scary. What are people hiding in their closet? What are people showing you and not showing you?
What are their true intentions? You never know. Even your husband.
You never know. Especially if you just met your husband
In the middle of the night. Valerie. Did you meet him at Coachella?
Maybe.
You met him at Coachella?
We were both rolling hard and
He was in a band called the Sting Bugs.
The Sting Bugs.
Because
You got stung. Let's get to the ride.
Let's do it.
The final ride. How entertaining we felt this movie was. This movie I have seen a couple times. I actually really like this movie. This is one of the... I feel like when I was really diving deep into the horror genre, this was one of the first movies that I felt like I watched that was off the beaten path. And I was like, oh, shit. This is like art housey horror stuff. What is this? This is the 70s? Whoa. What else is going on in this genre? So for me personally, this is an important movie. So I think I always have fun watching it, just revisiting those feelings of watching it for the first time. Objectively, it is a little slow at times, I will say. It does take its time.
Yes.
It definitely does.
It is a 70s movie. Yeah. But I think it's still, for my taste, how weak the script is still kept like a nice pace. It I can tell where we're trying to go and say. I did feel a bit of the nudity being a little too unreasonable. You know, like unnecessary.
We're dealing with erotic horror. It's going to be that.
Yeah, I was just trying to be erotic for erotic's sake.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And like,
there's some gratuitous stuff.
Yeah, some of the things just like didn't add up. And I was like, this, like you said.
Like, what the fuck was that scene? I'm sorry. This is actually the one. I forgot to bring this up before. What was the one sex scene between Stefan and Ilona where she was like on him, but then like lays back between his feet?
Yeah.
What were they doing?
I don't know if they were connected. Penis to pussy.
I don't know.
And then all of a sudden she's on top of him again.
Spacing was confusing.
I was like, are you a robot, ma'am?
Maybe.
Go gadget.
Yep.
Arms.
Extendo arms and
go gadget
pussy.
sexy arms.
Yeah, that scene is always one of the most confusing scenes to me.
So confusing.
I've seen this movie, like I said, multiple times. That scene always is just like, what are we doing here? Like, I understand that the point is that Stefan is with Ilona and, you know, cheating on Valerie, whatever. But what's going on? What's happening in that scene? I just don't understand.
That is
Positioning.
the most boring sex I've ever seen.
That too.
As well.
Yeah. It's like for such a odd position, very boring.
For it to be an affair, oh my
Come
God.
on.
And
Make
then
it hot and steamy.
come on.
Bring some Fatal Attraction to this thing.
Exactly. Fatal Attraction, that shit.
Put some Fatal Attraction in there.
Give me
some
a
FA.
sink.
Come on.
Give me a fucking sink.
Daughters of Darkness.
Daughters of Darkness.
Daughter of Darkness.
Daughters.
Let's get these Smash Pumpkins.
Yeah, let's smash them.
I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be affected by your rating. Because like I said, I like this movie a lot just because of personal reasons. So I don't want to go lower than what I thought I was going to go. But
don't ever be affected by my number.
I try not to, but I'm just going to go first just in case.
Go for it.
Like I said, beautiful movie. Really like cinematography wise, I love this movie. And I really do think that the themes of this movie really are strongly represented. Like I really like these depictions of toxic relationships from all sides. And I also really enjoy that they did not try to be the typical hero's journey movie. You know, like our main character was not saved at the end. And I think that took a lot of restraint from these filmmakers to do that. So those are the things I really appreciate this. And I also love a really good, sexy vampire movie. Like that's just part of my,
the
aesthetic.
boobs. I'm rating this a 5 because I saw so much boobs.
Good boobs.
Perky boobs.
Perky boobs. I liked it. No, but in all honesty, I think that this movie does a good job of riding the line of being very sexual and being sensual, but also using it to tell the story that they're trying to tell. So I'm going to give this a 4.
Nice.
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Smash Pumpkins.
Cool. I'm going to give it a 3. Yeah, a 3. Just because, yeah, like I do appreciate that there could have been many ways for this film to have gone in the perspective of the man. And it did actually surprise me that we ended up with a rather horny gay perspective. And we get our, quote unquote, pure girl following her master's fucking vision, mission, whatever that is. Legacy. Yeah.
And whatever they want.
Whatever.
Really.
Yeah. And we get a rather kind of controversial, but like freeing kind of story of just like a woman going about life, being her own sexual being, and that is such a 70s fucking story to tell.
It really is.
Yeah.
Just freedom. Just
freedom.
Sexual freedom and
freedom.
Yeah. And just like final praises to the actor that played Elizabeth Bathory. Like really
great.
Landed the plane and like kept us going the whole time.
Honestly, the most realistic 70s acting I've seen thus far.
Yeah. Really nailed it. She always is like the one thing too that I always focus on in this movie because the story is her. The story really like depends on her. So good job.
I can see like Naomi Watts playing her character.
Absolutely.
Like I don't know why, but like I feel like her purity of like how she looks like, and I think she can portray a very seductive, very kind of like held back a little bit.
I liked the Meryl Streep tie that you made. I think that even still, like this actor more so than Meryl Streep just can have that inner darkness. Like Meryl Streep I see as a very strong, yes, like soft person, but very strong. Whereas this person I saw as soft, strong,
And sexy.
but scary in a way. Like there was this like underlying darkness that was under the whole performance that I don't know if you could get with Meryl Streep.
Dream girl. That's my dream girl right there.
Did you hear that, Elizabeth?
Slightly scary and seductive.
Dark.
And
dark underneath.
Dark, but like beautiful.
Love it.
And she commands me around.
She can be a guest.
Oh my God, my mom listens to this. Oh no. Mom, no.
Daughter of Narcos, let's get out of this review. Quick. What are we doing next week?
What do you
all right. I think I'm pulling.
You're pulling?
I think
you are.
this.
Oops, shit.
What do you want? I know you've been asking for aliens for a while.
Aliens. I still need aliens. Do we have the fourth kind on this?
I think so.
In this list?
I think I put it in there.
I want to see just signs, like something nostalgic aliens that like brings out my like deep childhood traumas. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool.
No, those movies like Signs and The Fourth Kind was like a visceral kind of reaction that I lost sleep because I was like, aliens are coming.
There are some jump scares in those that are truly terrifying.
They're going to implant something in my brain, and there I go.
And there I go.
That's why I'm crazy, because aliens.
I can see it. All right. Let's see what we got.
Let's see.
Okay. Best friends, Murray. Murray?
Best friends, Bowery?
All right, let me try that again. I'm reading for the first time too, okay? Thank you very much. Best friends Marie and Alexa decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexa's parents' secluded farmhouse. But on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror.
I hope so. This is a horror podcast.
It better be endless.
What the fuck? What the fuck is it?
We are watching High Tension.
No.
Yeah, from 2003.
Oh, nostalgic and I
Here we go. We're getting all the like really tough ones to watch in this season.
I have not seen this since it fucking came out. I've talked about it several times on this podcast.
You have.
This is one that was visceral for me.
Yep.
It's not aliens.
Nope.
But it's damn close. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not.
It's damn close. Well, we're getting... Isn't this French too?
It is French.
Oh, here we go again.
So this was considered to be the most prolific kind of like French... what is Martyr supposed to be? Extreme?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that was. And then Martyr came to the picture and then kind of blew it out of the water.
Okay, well, at least we've already seen Martyrs, so like we got that. But
yeah, it's not as that. It's not as extreme as that, but there's fucking blood and gore galore.
Well, if you love blood and gore galore, you
gore
are
and
in the
galore.
right place. Because apparently next week we're getting a lot of that.
Yeah, we are.
Very cool. Well, see you next week for that.
Yep. Bless your souls, everybody. And in the meantime, you can call us.
Yeah, you can definitely call us at
773-669-6677. Leave us a lovely message of how you go about your life.
Anything, really.
Yeah.
How you go about your life. What movies do you want us to throw in the bucket? What did you think about this review? Kinda
Exactly.
curious.
Yeah. Do you agree with us? Have you seen it before?
How sexy are you feeling about this?
Did this make you convert?
Have you turned off the podcast at this point? Because I would also understand.
Yeah,
that.
same. But don't turn it off quite yet, because I want you to go and follow me on Instagram at Color Me Leslie.
And me at BeepBeeperGT. You can follow us at the Deadlights Pod
You may.
on Instagram. But until next
time,
let's get spooky.
Ooh.
I'm sexy.
I'm a
Eat you up.